Welcome
to the joy of coding.
Hello, and welcome to episode 436 of The Joy of Coding. My name is Mike Conley. It's so good to have you here. Going to be live hacking on some Firefox stuff. Going to be trying to make some improvements to the browser. I've got a sidebar experiment that we started last week. A little initiative here that I've decided we could potentially look at during the stream. So we'll get into that. That's the start. Let's start by sharing my screen. Yeah, it's April 8th, 2026, episode 436. A reminder, no plan survives breakfast. I think I know what I want to do. I think I know what I want to cover today, but it might not go according to plan. It might go sideways. We might get sidetracked, go down a rabbit hole, get blocked on something, get distracted. Anything could happen. We're just going to deal with it as it comes. That's the first thing. The second thing, the agenda that we're looking at. It's available to you in a different location, the link, depending on where you're watching the stream. If you're watching this on Air Mozilla, it's over in the details section. If you're watching this on Twitch, it's down in the channel details. And if you're watching this on YouTube, it'll be down in the video description. That link will send you to a page which is a copy of this agenda, and as I update, maybe add text or links to the agenda, this little spinny will spin, and if you reload the agenda, you'll get the latest stuff. All right, well, the first thing I want to do before we continue is I had some patches I had queued for landing earlier this morning, and just before the stream started, I got this message from Lando. That's our landing tool. I don't know why I just closed. I had this tab open, but the landing failed, and that is because of a merge conflict or a cherry picking conflict. So Lando, takes patches from Fabricator and attempts to cherry pick them on the top of main, and it failed to do so due to some kind of I don't know. There was something different in Topsite's feed, so I'm gonna have to merge this manually and attempt to reland. So let me take those. I want to start there. So that's these patches down here. I'm going to rebase them on top of main. RYP main at origin. Here, let me pump up the font a bit. JJ log. So they rebased fine. JJ new RYP. And actually, you know what I'll do is I'll attempt to rebase off of Autoland. So I'll just do another git fetch, and then let's rebase on top of Autoland, because that rebase was pretty easy. So let's rebase RYP destination Autoland at origin. See if it has a problem with that. No problem at all. All right. Well, in that case, it was merely a problem with, I guess, Lando's patch mechanism being rebase on Autoland not being smart enough to deal with this. So let's rebase on Autoland. We'll push up to Fabricator and requeue for landing. Okra says, hello, do you know if Firefox pre-creates context menus on Wayland? For some reason, they fail to display after second output is disconnected and reconnected again. I don't actually know. I don't know the answer to that. I don't know. Excuse me. In what I've seen with the GTK backend, what's typical is that whenever the context menu is being opened, it is dynamically being populated. But maybe that's different for Wayland. I haven't looked at the GTK backend for context menus or menus in general, because I think menu pop-ups and context menus are the sort of the same concept in the GTK backend. I don't recall there being any like pre-creation or caching. Could be wrong though. Okay, so that has been posted for review. Let's now attempt to reland. So, rebase on Autoland. We'll queue it up. Thanks anyway, says Okris. No problem. I mean, this is me being distracted. Wayland, GTK Wayland. Because like for a lot of what we do here, we draw our own stuff. We don't tend to use a lot of like the underlying operating system's primitives. We tend to draw our own stuff, but we'll use Wayland or GTK to create surfaces to draw into. But that has slowly changed over time with some of our menus. I know that very recently, for example, on Mac OS, we're starting to use the native menu for select dropdowns and have been using the native menu for context pop-ups for a number of releases now. I don't actually know what we do for menus. Relative pointer, the KDE app menu protocol, fractional scale, NS window Wayland. Is there anything in here about context menu? And M pop-up context menu. That's a Boolean on whether or not a window is a context menu, I guess. I don't understand any of this. It's been such a long time since I've looked at this stuff. Type hint. But Wayland pop-up configure, when would that occur? Inside of native move reset, native show. So when we're showing if we're a Wayland pop-up, we will configure the pop-up on each show, I guess. And then, I don't know. And then we will actually do the show. So this is like do the configure and then do the show. Is Wayland pop-up. And so we will show the window in this case, which is the menu pop-up. So I guess the window is pre-built, but we will configure it here. So I should look into nswindowwayland.cpp. Yeah, I think you should. I think you should. All right, so we queued this for, or we're gonna queue this for landing again. That's okay. I just did a rebase, so I'm okay with that warning. No problem, Ocris. All right, and we'll see. We'll see if that lands. Let's see what shape the tree is in. Autoland is currently waiting for build coverage, so we might actually not hear about a merge for a little while until the tree sheriffs reopen the tree after a bunch of these landings have taken place. All right. So, but landing is queued. So that was the first thing. That's done. So now I want to work on the download sidebar. So I need to go back to the patch I was on, which was add preliminary download sidebar disabled by default. So I'm going to build with artifact. So I got a little bit more information about one of the questions that I had last week, which was, you know, there's this pre-existing pattern where whatever shows up in the sidebar, any of the modern stuff, there's an equivalent inside of Firefox View. And so my question was, should I be continuing that trend such that I need to build out the Firefox View version of downloads in parallel? Let me see what the answer was. I'll try and paraphrase here. Let me see here. We looked at the comparison with other browsers. We all agreed that the other browsers do not do downloads very nicely, and that we could definitely improve upon them. One thing that full screen, I presume they mean for like the full screen variant in Firefox View. One of the things that allows is for a very nicely displayed full list of file type filtering options. This is something we definitely want to support down the line in the sidebar view. The filtering options would have to be hidden behind the 3-dot menu, which hampers discoverability. URX work is still in progress for the full view, but I think that the approach that makes most sense would be the same approach we want to follow used for other sidebar panels. Allow expanding the sidebar panel into the full view, as shown there. What is this? Let me hold on a quick sec. So as shown here, and then unfurl the file type filters to be visible. So in a way, it's almost like this is a compact version of what shows up in the full in history, or like a compact version of what shows up inside of Firefox View. Oh, so maybe that's the case. I guess that's something I can check right now. Is So here's Firefox View. Here's like recently closed or open tabs. Let's do recent browsing. Recent browsing. We'll open up a bunch of tabs here. So we've got some recent browsing history. Recently closed tabs, recent browsing, history. So we've got history here. And now if we go to the history sidebar, is this the same as this? I guess is the question. Let us quickly examine the DOM and understand. This is inside, this is an element called a sidebar tab row. So immediately it's called sidebar thing, like a sidebar X, which makes me think that it's unlikely to be the same thing, but we have a virtual list. I suspect that is used over here. We have a sidebar tab row and then sidebar tab list inside of a card that expands and collapses. A sidebar tab list. Okay, and then that's all contained within sidebar history, which is part of this document called sidebar history. Then over here we have FX view tab row, which is not the same thing as a sidebar tab row, and this a tab list inside of a card container, which is inside of a view history, selected view history. Okay, so there's like a relationship, but I think it's a conceptual one. I don't think there's actually a shared underlying, like, what is, this is a sidebar tab row, and this is a, what? This is a FX view tab row. So let's take a look at the source, FX view tab row. Where do we define it? Here, FX view tab row. Okay, so there's something called the FX view tab row base. And then inside of and that just extends the lit element, and then you have the sidebar tab row. Oh, okay, extends FX view tab row base. Okay, I see what they did. And then they brought it in from here. So sidebar tab list. So the pattern would then be, we'll create a simple version of downloads in Firefox View with a shared base component. Then the FX view and sidebar variants inherit from that shared base component. Is there a work we define how why a sidebar differs from Firefox View? We're starting to flesh out sidebars such that about Firefox View is redundant. I believe that's still the plan. The idea that the user will be able to drag a full screen button. Okay. Is a full screen view that goes past the 70% wide sidebar. The idea is that the user will be able to drag out to full screen or click a full screen button. Also, if the user does not use the sidebar, they can also access these full screen views when they access tools or places like the app menu. All parts of split view, with the exception of recent browsing, will remain intact. View, hang on. View side navigation is tabs from other devices. Open tabs history. Standalone. So they want a standalone download surface, a standalone history, standalone surface. Reuse the Firefox view components to have some separation between the UI since downloads different. So we subclass some things, which the virtual list lives inside, which is extended by the sidebar tab list. I think for now, if you follow the same pattern for the sidebar and not worry about Firefox view, that should be fine. Okay. Follow the same pattern, but just don't worry about Firefox view. Okay. So don't worry about Firefox view. Worry about FX view, but have the base component nonetheless. And then we'd have a version of the list that lists the items, and it would probably look something like this. Hang on. Let me paste in here. Downloads. So we have like a filter and a search, and then it looks like we have these like accordions like history, and inside them we would have these different it's very similar to what we do today in the downloads panel. I gotcha. In a way, if we're gonna be like recreating these things, we almost want to like port what we have for the downloads panel to be a reusable component that could be used in this sidebar state. That's the first thing that comes to mind. And then you have like the way of organizing them by date. That's interesting. Okay. So I think I've started to sketch out a game plan here. Here's my plan. See if we can factor out the existing downloads panel item UI into a domain-specific reusable component. That can be used in different contexts. Primarily, I'm aiming for this to be storybookable. That'd be nice, because there are a lot of different states that this could be in. I think that's an interesting challenge for today. Let's see if we can focus on this part, because if we can do that, then we can start reusing it in our sidebar implementation. Because like right now, what we have, sidebar downloads. I'm just doing this like really dumb download item template. It's just the header of the source URL. So let's see how the panel builds itself out. If I remember correctly, the downloads panel handles the downloads panel user interface for each browser window. This file includes the following constructors and global objects. The main entry point for downloads panel interface builds and updates the downloads list widget, responding to changes in the download state and real-time data. In addition, handles part of the user interaction events raised by the downloads list widget. Builds and updates a single item in the downloads list widget, responding to changes in the download state and real-time data. Handles the user interaction events. This sounds particularly useful. And downloads view controller. So let's start with what a downloads view item is. Downloads view item builds and updates a single item in the downloads list widget, responding to changes in the download state and real-time data. Handles user interaction events. So this is it extends from the downloads view UI download element shell. Woof. All right, what is this thing? A download element shell. This is from back in the day. This may be more complicated than it needs to be, but a download element shell is responsible for handling the commands and the displayed data for a single element that uses the download XML binding. So that's from the Zibble days. The information display is obtained through the associated download object from the JavaScript API for downloads, and commands are executed using combination of downloads methods and downloads common helper functions. Specialized versions of this shell must be defined, and they are required to implement the download property or getter. Currently, these objects are the history download element shell and the downloads view item for the panel. The history view may use a history download object in place of a download object. I see. This is very object oriented, which was still fairly used in the browser UI. This predates reusable components. It predates the use of lit, and it predates the ES6 classes, because if you can tell here, we're using the prototype inheritance here, and so we have like our base class, which has an element, and then we have this like notion of connecting to the DOM, and we set all of these things. I kind of wonder if part of the job here is to convert this into a lit element, to split this out into a lit element. And how would that work? Let's clearly understand what this component does. That's the first step. We have like a root initialized by the derived object. So each object, I guess, has a top level element that is a rich list item. So everything follows from that. Let's take a look at the panel implementation, for example. Yeah, not too many users of this, so that's good. The element, so we constructed downloads view item, passing in a rich list item, and then ensure active, which is in the base class. Manages the active state of the shell. By default, all the shells are inactive, thus their UI is not updated. They must be activated when entering the visible area. I see. So they start binding to the data. Well, I actually don't know. Where that binding happens. Show progress, show status. Where does the binding occur? So we add the view item. And then all these like subclass, we're like overriding on download mouse over show button, show status. So there are these like underscore style methods. And are we overriding? Do command downloads commands? No, we're not overriding. So we just like sticking on some of our own little like pseudo private methods here. And then we define our downloads. Oh, that's the downloads view. Sorry, I keep getting confused. Ensure active here on view item. We construct a downloads view item, which is here. Okay. These are the different item commands. And the wiring up of the download. State of download. If the state is not equal to new state, download state equals new state, update state. who calls on changed? On download changed. So we add ourselves as a listener, I guess. Somehow we're adding ourselves as a listener. Callback functions from downloads data. So, oh, again, that's the downloads view. So the view, downloads view, when does it get attached? Downloads view. Here, when the panel initializes, we add the downloads view, which each window gets its own copy of. And so we're going to receive updates about downloads. Okay, I'm starting to get a sort of a mental conception of how this is structured. Okay, so let's see here. So a window, here's the structure. A window gets a downloads panel and a downloads view. And each downloads view has a downloads view item. And downloads view added as a listener to downloads common. And then downloads view item represents a download. And here's about updates with on changed. So when a download is changed, we find the view item associated to it with it, and we call on changed on it. And so then if we look at on changed, we get the state of the download. If the state is different, we update the state. And this is like, yeah, very old school. This is data binding, effectively. What lit and react and all view and all these things try and solve. All right, what is state of download? Turns the legacy state integer value. I see. So there's like some integer value that represents the state of a download. Okay. So the question I think we should answer is, how do we make downloads? How do we make downloads view UI storybook compatible? It doesn't mean necessarily that it's a lit element. It just doesn't use HTML or it doesn't use Zool anymore. Danny Cullen says, I've seen more old school than that. Yeah, I mean, that's fairly well structured for the time, I'd say. The person who put that together, I remember his name is Paulo. It's very, very thoughtful. How do we make the downloads view UI storybook compatible? That doesn't necessarily mean the first step is converting to lit. The first step is to not use Zool. Is perhaps to not use Zool. So if we go back to the UI here, the base class is what's doing most of the heavy lifting. Downloads view UI, or downloads view prototype. No, downloads view. What am I looking for? Downloads. View UI. Here it is. It's the UI. Ensure val active. So connect. And so what it does is it ensures that we are inside of a rich list item or a rich list box, which contains a rich list item, which then contains these very Zool things. And then we use an HTML progress element. Could we convert this to not using Zool? Could that be a good use of today's time? And then, is it possible to work our way towards converting it into a lit element and retiring a lot of like the hand-rolled state stuff that it's doing? Possibly. So when we construct one of these things, download new downloads view item, we pass it the element, we construct a rich list item, and then the rich list box. So rich list box is the downloads list box, which in the panel is this rich list box. And I don't exactly remember what a rich list box is. Rich list box. This is loaded into all Zool Windows wrap and a block to prevent leaking the Windows scope. A rich list box has some keyboard accessibility handling stuff here. And can have like multiple selections. I don't know if we take advantage of that with the downloads list. Let's do some test downloads. Small files, small, extra small files. Oh, we can do smaller than that. Let's just save this image. And let's save this image too. Okay. Do we do the... We do have like multiple selection here. If I do a third one, can I do... Are we taking advantage of multiple selections? So if I like right click, and then I go delete, yeah, I can select multiple. And right click, remove from history. Okay. Do we have an equivalent of a rich list box that we could reuse? I suspect we probably do. Ovechkin hinting at retirement, the end of an era. Oh, yeah. Pour one out. You want to talk old school. Rich list box. Should be labeled. Custom element overhead. What about resolved? Rich list box. Oh, you know what? Yes, I have something comes to mind. The search If I turn on settings redesign, search has this. What is this? Does it allow me to do multiple? It does not, but what is it? A Moz box item and a box group. Does it have some of the same sort of like keyboard accessibility characteristics? Okay, so yes, I can work my way up and down this way. Oh. Yeah, I wonder if we're supposed to be using Mozbox instead. Replace. Dzibble. Remove the binding. This is something that Thunderbird was looking at from a while back. This got pushed 7 years ago. So they moved from a rich list box to something else. Okay. They're doing their own Dzibble effort 7 years ago. Let's look inside Storybook. We have a box group, which can be reorderable. Can they be multi-selected? It's a link. I'm a box item. I'm part of a group. Delete this box item. Box item. Box item. Reorderable list. Smurf D Red said that they thought you wrote overthinking instead of Ovechkin. What about recent changes in the tree related to rich list box? That might be fruitful. Replace rich list autocomplete items. Oh, in the passwords manager. Using autocomplete row item instead. Well, that's interesting because maybe what we need to be looking at, is here, if we look at the password list, test, 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 this can be selected. Test 2, test 2, test 2. That can be selected. Can't be multi-selected. What is that, though? What is it? Something called a list item inside of a login list item, which is inside of a list box. So what is a list item? List item. Login list lit item. List item. see anything here. There's a panel list. List. Box group is a list. List box. Not quite. Okay. List item. Okay, so it's a login list item. I understand. Okay. So the bits and pieces I might need. I might need to ask the reusable components team about what they're planning on doing with rich list box. Is rich list box, it's a base control with a bunch of like privileges. Okay. Yeah, and a rich list item element, a Zool rich list item element with a label, all these bits and pieces. So what do I want to do? Is rich list box ever used in sidebar? No. View. Just the URL bar. Okay. Maybe just rich list. Downloads. And what about sidebar? Rich list. I want to view all. I want to do a couple searches because maybe there's like thinking about this in a couple different places. Let's browse downloads panel. Let's look at the recent bugs in the past couple of years. See if there's anything in here about redoing the UI. A lot of bugs. Zool. HTML, click. Bindings. Rich. Okay, nothing there. Okay, browse. Zool widgets. UI widgets. Let's see all results. Rich list wants element like HTML opt group. Wants a label element. Wanted multi-column. Optimize. Scroll position. List box cleanup. Wanted rich list tree. Lazy rich list box. Migrate Zool richless item to an HTML custom element. Now we're talking. We're getting somewhere. And then Brian Grinstead started this 6 years ago. And then convert it to an HTML custom element from what? Toolkit. Rich list box. What did he do? Created a Moz rich list item. Interesting. How applicable is this still? This is pretty old, but rich list box hasn't changed much in that meantime. So let's take a look at what he did from the very beginning. He's changing some tests. A lot of tests, actually. Okay, so mostly tests, and then we change some styles. And the actual conversion isn't so bad. Looking down at what we had to do in Toolkit. Yeah, what's a custom element registry? Let's look at all the sort of the funkier stuff that had to change. So there's something in the custom element registry. Tests. Like all the places that used to use rich list items. Okay, so there's a lot of like relabeling, that's fine. And then what does this do? We check inside of when we're defining a custom element in the registry. We make sure that it's not a custom element and we throw it, it's not a valid custom element name, or it's the system principal. Check to see if if we're in the system principal, check it against the Zool namespace. That's interesting. I don't know if we want that part. I'm curious to know if this still exists. Yeah, we never landed that, so that's interesting. I don't know why that would be needed here, but we could try and revive everything except that and see what breaks. So this will be interesting. This was authored like 7 years ago and was never reviewed. It was a work in progress patch. I'm going to try something. This is probably not going to work. But I'm going to mozfab patch that revision. And is there a stack? Is it just the one? It's just the one. So it's going to check out that really, really old version of the tree and then rebase it. So that, like, we're going to check out the oh, never heard of it. Cinnabar extension not enabled. Set a base commit. Okay, what is this? What is the parent? The parent is this one. From 6 years ago. And do we have a git SHA on it? No. But I might be able to use this tool to query for the git SHA. No? hg2git. What was the mercurial? Change that. I want to find what is the git equivalent to this from 2019. What is the way do you do that? There is a utility. There's a utility that I've used for an extension. New tab, train, hop, station, which maybe you've seen me work on. hg2git. So if I supply an hg SHA to this endpoint, so if I say http, I'm going to supply that hg2git API, and then supply this SHA. What does it give me back? Get hash. Blah, blah, blah. All right. And let's make sure that don't propagate over scroll. Yay. Okay, so that's what we're going to apply on top of. Apply to that. That really should be a mock command. Yes, I could have downloaded the patch file, but getting the patch isn't the problem. It's the applying it cleanly to this ancient version of Firefox. And then I'm going to try and use Git's smarts to rebase the patch to bring it forward, which is better than attempting to just hand patch against latest main. I have a higher probability of more of things not being broken. But yeah, in the worst case scenario, I could have done it by hand. I'm going to file a bug for a mock command. Mock core. Oh. Mock commands used to develop Firefox should be reported elsewhere. Do we have, what do we have that's like related to the version control? What? Mock -- help? Doesn't know what I'm talking about. Mock. Oh, you know what? Because this is not going to build at all. At all. Did it complete the rebase? Where was the rebase occurring? Was it here? Yes. No. Where was the rebase occurring? Where did it go? Sure, I did have that open. Oh. Here, I did it. Sorry. The window is too small. Okay. So we did it. We've applied the patch. I spell merge problems, says Smurf D. Yeah, I do too. So here we go. JJ, rebase. R, LRR, destination main at origin. This is going to explode. Let's watch. Yeah, it couldn't do it. Let's look at the new LRR. Sometimes when moving between very old branches of the tree and the current one, some data gets corrupted with JJ. So I may run a git command to reset the repository. Let's see what happens though. What's going on? What's the holdup? Okay. Lots of conflicts, as predicted. So I'm going to do git restore dot. Oh, can't do it. Lots of stuff unmerged. So let's take a look at the conflicts. Oh boy. It's like the whole file conflicts. All right, so we might be doing this by hand, gang. JJ restore. So that did not pan out. Okay, let's do the minimum. I won't worry about the tests for now. Let's just try and change rich list box.js. And that wasn't too bad. And then it's unmerged. JJ log. JJ new main at origin. Get me out of here. Git restore dot. And then we're going to build an artifact build. Yeah, that was not useful. Let's go into rich list box here. And then all he did was he made it so that when we go through our children, we iterate the Moz rich list children. So that's inside of item children. No problem. And then he also made it so that when we get the next item, we use a Moz rich list item and get previous items similar. And then when we append an item, appendicitis. And then we use create element. And then class rich list item extends. This is how you do that. Moz elements base text mixin. Does this still exist? Yeah. And then base. Okay. Why not? base text mixin, and then we'll say just a natural HTML element. And then we define ourselves as a Moz rich list item. And we should define ourselves probably as a Moz rich list box, but it looks like he never did that. He just made it so that Moz rich list item. So we'll do that part next. And then, what else did he do? He changed Zool.css. Autocomplete rich list item. Haven't even added that rule yet, but here. Oh, that line doesn't exist anymore. Moz iconic. Tab modal prompt is gone. Find bar. Find bar is here. Okay, so maybe we'll add this here. User select. It's the only one. Does that even? Yeah, okay. It's still around. And then Moz user focus. Yes. Display Moz box, border box. Oh, and maybe I should put it up here. Oh, interesting. So it's already using Flexbox. So flex shrink 0. Let's see what happens if what is there a minimal example? The rich list box. Let's do the downloads, all downloads view, because I can keep it open and I can inspect it. So all downloads view. We'll create a Moz rich list item as a HTML element. Find the closest Moz rich list item. Mango. And then do that. And is there any other rich list? No. Okay. And then we may need to update our CSS to match against Moz rich list item. Okay, let's build and take a look. Almost certainly is going to be broken. Almost certainly this is going to be broken, but let's see how broken. Come on. Come on. Come on. In the meantime, does anyone have any questions? Okris says it will work miraculously. I guess it's possible. I think it's unlikely, But if this works, I expect there to be a lot of breakage elsewhere based on the scale of Brian's other patch from 6 or 7 years ago. But let's suppose that this works. Convert rich list item to Moz rich list item HTML element, then convert rich list box to a Moz rich list box HTML element, and then convert downloads view item to use HTML elements. That would be good. And then we're in a spot where we could start using that item inside of the inside of our sidebar, which should be a good step. Okay. That looks pretty broken. Why broken? Moz tab is not an object or null. Autocomplete rich list item. Operation not supported on line 870. So loading our custom elements is failing. So the whole window is broken. Line 870. To define, because we must extend a Moz rich list item. Here. Okay, let's see if that makes it happier. Akris thought that that was a fine-looking browser. I agree. Perfectly usable. Ship it. Okay. Not still bad. Cannot extend a custom element. Autocomplete rich list item cannot extend on line 870. You cannot extend a custom element. Why? That extends me the value of the extends member options are null if no such member exists. If extends is not null, then if this is scoped is true, then throw a not support error DOM exception. If it's scoped. If extends is a valid custom element name, then throw a not supported error DOM exception. If the element interface it extends in the HTML namespace is HTML unknown element, then throw a not support error. Set local name extends. We'll subject tool the same rules as HTML so that the custom built-in element will not be extending from a dash name. If the name is a dash name, given that there's no reason for a custom built-in element type to take on a non-dash name, so built-in custom element type can never be the same as the built-in element type. So if we're extending, if extends was passed, and if what we're extending is a custom element, you cannot extend a custom element. Extends. You can't define that it extends a custom element. Can it simply subclass it? Like, what happens if extends Moz? Yeah. Hang on. So fx view list or tab list tab list base extends HTML element, and we define fx view tab list to be fx view tab list base. Tab list base. And then open tabs list extends it. And we define it to be that. So maybe it's fine if we say, if we just drop this part. Do we even need these? Maybe it's no longer necessary to extend in the definition like this because we're subclassing. I guess it's possible. Let's see what happens. Rich list item is not a custom element. It is a custom element. Moz rich list item was a custom element. Okay, better. That looks good. Now, let us download some things. If I go to About Downloads, there are no downloads. So let's download an image. Aha! There's an item. We have a Moz rich list item. Very good. But the styling's all wrong. Presumably, this Moz rich list item is supposed to have like display flex on it like that, and like padding 15 pixels or something, and a item is null on rich list box 421. Oops. 421. From remove item from selection if item, which is null, and we're going through items. Select item range. Current item, get item at index. Get item at index. That's item children. This dot item children is an empty array. Aha, item children. Are there any other rich list item strings in here? There are. So we're going to replace those. So we're going to go back. We're going to shut down, build. A strategy is forming. A strategy is forming. Yeah, there are a lot of rich list items. This would be a big, uncomfortable, annoying conversion. So at least I'm not getting exceptions being thrown. Selected true, unselected, selected. So we're missing some styles. Let's look at what where's an
Everything's
image?
going up.
No. I don't want the news. I just want an image. Save image as. Okay, and now I go to about downloads. So where are these styles coming from? Rich list item. Flex, display, orient, horizontal. Yeah, where's the orient? Like if I get rid of orient horizontal, oh, it completely ignores it. All right, and then selected. Here in common shared. So there's something in common shared. Rich list item. Can I do a find and replace in common shared? Rich list item. Replace. And then Zool, Moz rich list item. We're going to replace it with HTML Moz rich list item, right? Yeah. All right. Reload. Better. Now, where is the padding coming from? There's no padding. And there's no padding. So it's just things are suspended in the middle here. And there's some kind of height being applied. Min height on the rich list item in all downloads view. So on all downloads view, there's some kind of included file. So we need a Moz rich list item here. Is there any other rich list item instances? No. So we'll apply our min height. That's helpful. And then what about the orientation of the, we've got an H box. That's fine. That's working properly. But why is this button on the other side? It's almost like it's the rich list item itself is acting as an H box. And I see. So if I make this flex and then the rich list item min height 4.5 EM, that looks right. That's looking correct. Okay. So a Moz rich list item should be display flex. Reload. Have I ever been overwhelmed by the changes I had to do? No, I don't think so. It's just part of the gig. So that works for me. And I bet you I can do multiple selection. Let's save this image. Yes, yes. That seems to work. Keyboard. Yes. Oh. No. Sure, whatever. What's the keyboard access story on? Yeah, not great. Unless, I'll bet you there's some, like, the Mac OS keyboard thing I'm not taking advantage of. Okay. So that more or less works. I think there's just a bunch of corrective stuff I need to do now. What's this complaining about? Use user select instead. User select none. Okay. Okay, so if I'm able to do this, we've only got 2 minutes left, but I think we've got a plan here. We're going to convert the rich list item to Moz. So we're going to do this next week. I should clear this with the recomp team. Convert rich list box to Moz rich list box. Probably a slightly easier than Moz rich list item. Clear this with recomp team. And then we're going to use HTML elements instead, which I think that will be the easiest of all. If you take a look here, ensure, or wait, no, where was it? Downloads, view UI, ensure active, there's connect. So this fragment, we're gonna like replace all of this. There's already, I think, no, there's no HTML. That's probably the Zool button. We're gonna replace this all with HTML instead. There is a Zool or an HTML progress element in here, but we'll make this, we will make this a emit HTML. What I'd love to do after that is be able to extract this out. Like, what is a download? Because like when we update it on change, we connect attribute, like the progress, show progress, mode, value, pause, show, name. Maybe we're okay because we're just exposing, like this thing doesn't seem to know or care what the download is. It's just representing it, and that's great. I think that makes it much more likely that we could turn this into a lit element. And then some of this might need to get, because like if we're using some like privileged stuff here, we might have to like somehow delegate that or dependency inject it so that it can still be put inside of Storybook. Here we're manipulating the download. So that we might have to like dependency inject or delegate somehow. We're manipulating the download and then using the command pattern. Do command. Okay, well, I think we can leave that for next week. I think what I'm going to do in the meantime is I'm going to run this down with the reusable components team, make sure that this plan makes sense. And then we'll continue on the next week, we'll continue on with more of this work. This is going to take a while. Strap in. I'm probably not going to work on it much outside of the stream, so just hang in there. But this could be a bit hairy, but I think it'll be good work. Well, thanks for watching episode 436 of The Joy of Coding. That was interesting. We're getting somewhere, I think, slowly but surely. We haven't really gotten to the point where we've got anything usable showing up in the sidebar, but we're getting to the point where we're hopefully going to have what exists inside the panel and the inline view be reusable for the sidebar, and I think that's important so that we don't have to make yet another bespoke version of this, because the specification more or less it has all of the behaviors we need, and so I don't want to have to remake it. We're just going to make it adaptable so it works in the sidebar like this. So that is what we will work on. Thanks again for watching. Let me know what you thought of this episode. There's a link here to rate this episode. I'm going to put a link to the forum in the chat for people. Link to rate this episode. I'll drop it in. There you go. Let me know what you thought. I read everything that comes in. That's a great place to give me feedback, what you want to see more of, less of. If you have questions, I can try and answer questions on the stream. Go for it. Send me stuff. I read everything that comes in. And if you've been watching the stream for a long time, you know I try and answer questions on the stream. And with that, we'll call it there. Thanks, everyone, for watching episode 436 of The Joy of Coding. I will see you, hopefully, next week. Take care, everybody. Bye-bye.
The joy of coding.
See ya.